Peace, peace, peace. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you who don't know, it's your boy Vic Slain Hope. And I got another video for y'all. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the pros and cons of being in the gang, right? Because a lot of times, I think we kind of like lose sight of what the cons really are, or what type of bargain we are getting into when we decide to join the gang. So I'm going to try to give y'all like a image, a glimpse of what you're really getting yourself into when you join one of these criminal organizations, right? I'm gonna start off with the pros, because the pros is usually the lesser on this list, right? And then I'm gonna go to the cons. But before I even do that, if you're rocking with my content, if you appreciate my videos, like it so it can circulate, share it with somebody who you think might benefit from it, and subscribe to the channel, so when I upload stuff, you in the know. Right? And let me know in the comment section what y'all think, because some of y'all might not agree. And so let me know what if y'all got pros to add or cons to add. Right? This is just some of the things that I came up with. But I could have went in on this whole cons list, but I only put about like 12 things, right? But let's get into it. The first one on the pros is protection, right? Protection is about, I only have one pro on this list, right? It's only one pro and a whole bunch of cons. And protection is the only pro on this list, right? Because that's the only thing that gangs kind of like provide in a way. If you're like an only child, if you don't really have family like that, which I think people have family, they just probably don't rock with their family like that, or they're not as tight. But if you're just one of those kids that you didn't really have the family to kind of like back you up. Like, I know people who have mad cousins or who have mad brothers. I have mad cousins, right? So they kind of like didn't really need to do it. And some of those dudes still end up joining gangs. But protection from other external dangers is probably like the one and only thing that gangs really do, right? When you get into a situation, it feels good to know that you have a group of people that will have your back, who will come respond for you, who will try to like, keep you safe, or at least keep people off of you, right? From doing things to you, or harassing you, or messing with you. Outside of that, it's like sometimes I hear people mention, oh, make money, but 9 times out of 10 you're making money in an illegal manner, right? So it's kind of like, is that really a pro? Like, the money might be a pro, but how you making is not really a pro, and you could end up going to jail or getting killed because of competition to make money. So it's not really a pro. So the only pro I came up with was protection. Now let's get into the cons, right? When it comes to the cons, killed prematurely, right? This is probably like the biggest negative outcome, right? When you join a gang, and I didn't want to just say killed, because a lot of people get killed for other things, but killed prematurely. A lot of kids are dying, between the ages of like 0 to 25, to gang violence, to turf wars, right? Street crews, right? The black community leads #1 in homicide, right? That's the #1 leading cause of death, from 0 to 25. Homicide. Crazy. But we don't want to talk about that, right? So you will be killed prematurely for repping some block, repping some crew, repping some hood. This is one of the cons. Pay attention. #2, betrayal, right? Now, betrayal could happen from anybody, but 9 times out of 10, it's probably higher to happen when you're rolling around in a crew of criminals, right? Because this is what it is, right? An organized crew of criminals. You're more likely, if I'm not mistaken, to be betrayed in a certain way. A lot of these dudes, if they feel like they're stronger than you, if they feel like they got more status than you, they feel like they can overpower you and do certain things, boss you around. Some of them feel like they can sleep with your girl, with your baby moms. Some of them just feel like they don't really gotta respect you for it, in a certain sense. It's not a lot of gangs, it's not all gangs, but this is highly something that happens a lot of time. Betrayal. You could get snitched on, right? This is part of it. Like I said, it's higher. The danger of you possibly being snitched on is higher when you're rolling around with people who are committing crimes. When you're rolling around with people who are stealing, who are robbing, who are killing, who are doing anything to protect their turf, to enforce certain things, to make money. You're at a higher rate of being snitched on, right? This is something that you got to contemplate, which goes into the next one, prison time, right? The moment you join the gang, your chances of going to prison increase exponentially, right? I didn't start getting locked up by the police until I joined the gang, right? It's almost like they could smell that shit on me, that I was a gang member, right? That's when I started having a lot of police problems in the community when I joined the gang. So that's another thing. Another thing that happens is ruin family ties. A lot of times we join these gangs, our cousins turn blood, we turn crip, like, or whatever other gangs, and it kind of like causes friction in the family. I seen it personally. A lot of times it happens, right? Like, it's not blood, not always thicker than water, right? Sometimes people choose a side, and then there's no kind of like coming back. Things happen. My man's could, it just be a lot of stuff that be going in between. Ruined friendships. I personally experienced this. A lot of my friends that I went to middle school with, or when I got to high school, because I chose a side and they chose another side, or they wanted to be dick riders off the other side, it just didn't mesh well, and we ended up having fractured relationships behind the choices that we made and the gangs that we started to represent. So that's another byproduct. That's another con. Police target. 9 times out of 10, police target more often than not gang members than the people who are not gang members. Police say it all the time. When every time they try to implement some new crackdown or some new this, some new that, they're always talking about they're targeting gangs and trying to get guns off the street, right? They say this out their mouth all the time. And like I said, when I became a gang member, I started to have more police contact. I started to, because you're not even if you're not really doing nothing, the police watch where you hang out. So when you're hanging out on certain turf, they know, these are the Crips, these are the Bloods. They see you. They see y'all wearing y'all colors. They see what street corners y'all standing on. They see what neighborhoods you frequent. So the police know, because they're always seeing you. So you become a target. Sometimes when they was doing stop and frisk, they was hopping out. You ain't had to do nothing. They was just hopping out on you because you on this turf. You on this corner. You walking around with certain people. So you become a target. That shit gets annoying, right? Another thing that happens, access to places. Sometimes when you pick a side, you no longer can keep going to that high school over there, because that high school is in a blood neighborhood, and it can cost you your life, or it can cause you to constantly get into fights, constantly get into conflicts. So now you can't even go to that high school, or now you can't even go to your auntie house, right? Which goes back into family ties. Now you can't even go to your auntie house because your auntie live in a blood neighborhood, or your uncle house, or your grandparents. It ruins like just your accessibility to be able to go places, unless you want to be a super tough guy and bring your gun, and which that puts you in more danger of going to jail or committing a crime. Like, this is just part of it, right? Access to places. Constant fear. This is another one. A lot of gang members do not talk about the constant fear that they are under when they are out there, when they don't know if the police gonna catch them, or if they don't know if the ops gonna catch them lacking. So at some point you get some sense of nervousness, some sense of fear. Is today gonna be my last day? Am I gonna go to jail? Especially when you walk around with that thing. You think about these things. A lot of dudes not gonna be real. They're not gonna talk about it. They're not gonna say it, right? Because a lot of dudes are not truthful with themselves and what actually is really going on in their minds when they are out there repping what they're repping. So they're not gonna be real with it. But the fear is constant. It's a constant fear, which leads me to my next point, which is drug addiction problems. A lot of these dudes, what they do to hide their fear, they engage in drugs. You see the kids now, they taking pills, they taking lean. Lil Durk say this all the time. Most of the 9 times out of 10, when any of my homies got killed, they was drugged up. 9 times out of 10, when dudes go out there and do some crazy shootings or whatever, they be drugged up, right? This is a tradition in gangbanging culture. Dudes used to do this out in Cali, right? They used to get dusted up, take PCP. They say Tookie Williams did this, right? Which again, he was framed, right? But this is just the culture in gangbanging. Dudes get dusted up. They put whatever drugs in their system, and they go out there and wild out, lose their mind. So drugs not only are they being sold to the community to generate money for this criminal organization, they're also being taken to kind of like numb and kind of like pacify the fear, the level of fear that these brothers be feeling when they are out there putting their lives on the line for nothing, right? The next thing is putting family in danger, right? Like this is another constant threat, putting your family in danger. Sometimes you can't even, when I was gangbanging, you would never catch me with my mom. You would never see me with my mother anyway. You would never see me with certain family members because I always feared that something could possibly happen to them because of me. So I always try to stay away from them. So it almost kind of like made me like a non-family man. It removed me from like just even being around my family. The only cousins I was really around was cousins that I knew, they was gangbanging and doing their thing in the streets. But other than that, like I couldn't be around family members that was vulnerable. That was just me. Today, these dudes be doing a lot of weird shit. They want to be going to picnics. They want to be going to the beach. They want to be just chilling, just posted up with their family, and not even. But I guess the game done changed. I guess the streets is not as dangerous. I'm not even gonna hold you. It was a little more dangerous back then in the early 2000s and stuff when I was in the streets, and so it's a little different now. So I get it, but at the same time, it's just like I look at dudes like you can't be serious. You can't be out here with your kids, putting your kids in danger, and you so-called running around the streets and you shooting people and you robbing people and you doing shit to people. It just doesn't make sense. And I could have made a whole long ass drawn out list about the cons, but this to me is enough, man. And it's more things that I probably missed that y'all could probably put in the comment section, right? But yeah, it's just a lot of stuff that goes into it, right? Like, and I think that sometimes if kids was to be sat down and told the pros and the cons of being in the gang, I don't think a lot of them would join unless they was under some dire consequence, also some dire circumstances. Because sometimes if you getting your ass whooped every time or you getting jumped all the time, it might be easy to just join the gang because you want that protection. So we don't know what some people are really going through, but I still think that if we was to show kids like, yo, sometimes you got to show people. It's not just about telling them, it's about showing them. And if we was to show people maybe videos or the things that kind of like happen or transpire or take place, sometimes that might curb them. That might be like, you know what? Even though some of them might still go, right? Like me, I just used to hear things. I only used to hear things, right? But I think that looking at sometimes children learn differently. So yeah, man. So that's just my list on the pros and the cons. Like I said, it was only really one pro, and it was protection. And there's a whole bunch of cons, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff that I could talk about that goes into it, and some of it is intertwined. But the whole bottom line is that you're entering into a losing bargain when you join the gang. I don't care what they tell you. I don't care how good they make it sound and how they make you feel in the moment. It's a losing bargain when you really think about the sacrifice that you're going to be making. When you constantly think about you could possibly be killed, go to prison, snitched on, get betrayed, fuck up your family ties, right? Ruin friendships, become a target for the police, right? Access to places, constant fear, putting your family in danger, drug addiction. And when they talk about the police target, it's like you're going to have to do crime when you're in the gang. Because you're just going to have to. You're going to have to rep your block, protect your turf, or sell some drugs to generate money, hold guns, do a whole bunch of stuff. So now that you're a target by the police, it's going to be even harder for you to even carry out some of like the gang protocols, right? So it's a losing bargain. But let me know what y'all thoughts are in the comment section. And make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share if you're messing with me. Peace.